Hey guys, so today I want to talk about identity and identity politics. And this is something that's been on my mind and on my heart for a while, and I've been wanting to talk about for a while because I have quite a peculiar set of circumstances. So I'm born in Antigua, which is in the Caribbean. Both my parents are white. My dad was born in Jamaica, but his parents are English, although his mom was born in Trinidad, but she's colonial. So that's a mouthful already. How do I explain that? 3 generations in the Caribbean, but I'm white. I sound like this. My mom, she gave us the names. My brother and I, Pierre, Henri, French names. I got raised speaking French. I have a French passport, but she's born in Cairo, in Egypt. And her side of the family to me is just the most confusing. I've given up on digging into it. But one day when I was with family, my mom's side of the family, a lot of them live in Paris. One day when I was with family and I asked, so how exactly are we French? And the best answer I got was from my grandfather. He says like his great uncle worked for the French embassy in Turkish Cyprus. Yes, even for me it's a mouthful. And got naturalized French. So that's where I came up with this joke. So a bunch of Arabs who became French one day and tried to forget we were Arab. And it's funny to me because I know that I'm not only one thing. I know that I'm, came out of this person and I was just a bunch of things, and I was growing up in a place where I didn't look like the people. Like, in the UK, when I say I'm from Antigua, well, guys, this is how you know things are progressing, because 5 years ago, when I would say I'm from Antigua, white people would be like, well, you don't look it. Some people would even go as far as saying, well, you're not really the right color. To which I would reply, I'm not black? Yeah, well, historically, if you want to get really ugly, and my family's involved, but not me, because I'm also part Arab. So, repression on one side, colonization on the other side. It's weird. Just, you're born, you pop out, and we got all this baggage from our parents to uphold culturally, feuds, all this stuff. We're a globalized community now, and it's important to give everyone a voice. I do now believe that. I do believe it's important to give everyone a voice. I just finished watching the new season of Master of None, and something about, spoiler alert, something about following a series on romance and childbearing from 2 black women living in New York, gay. I found it was the most peaceful way to put across so many messages that I wrote to my friend who suggested it. I said, wow, giving voice to someone who's not represented does away with a whole ton of theory or ideas that we need to hold society together, and just showing that, just seeing that, how relatable and how human it is to be anyone in any relationship dynamic, as long as we're humans in it, humans who can have babies and who have thoughts around having babies. And I mean, look, maybe I won't go too long on that because you'll have to watch the 3rd season of Master of None, which was amazing to follow. So I'm going to go back to my own identity crisis. So, grew up in Antigua, I don't look like the people. As I was making more jokes, signs of progress here in the UK. Nowadays, white people, they don't they don't say that anymore. Right away, what they say is, oh, I've been to Antigua. And I go, oh yeah, who do you know? Because it's so small, likely that if they know anyone there, I know. It's like, oh no, I went on a cruise ship. And it's this new thing, the new tendency is this race to be like, well, yeah, I've been there, I know things, and it's like, chill out, you know? To someone who came out of someone, just knew that they came out of my mom, like anyone else, was born alive, just boom, and just was like, oh, I get to grow up with this and that and that and these thoughts and these thoughts and these thoughts and know about the history of this culture and the problems of these people and you know, my family, they're Christian Arabs, so they have a removed point of view from all the Islamic contention in the religion. Like all religions have had historically a lot of like contention. You know, you think of Christians, there's the Catholics, the Protestants, there's the Lutheranism. There's all these divides in philosophy and ideology that you know, someone wants to look at something a bit differently, they branch off and they form, which is great, which is fine, which is what it should be. But what's become this strange thing nowadays, and doesn't make sense to me as someone who just like in the ley lines of things, kind of on the fringe, because I'm half something else, and don't look like the people where I come from. Guys, in Antigua, when I meet Antiguans that I don't know for a long time, now that I sound American because I lived in New York for a while, and I look like this, and even when I speak dialect, I think to someone else. If you want me to just talk like a dialect right now, you know, just that way y'all can just hear. Sometimes when I put them on now, and really, you know, a kind of performance I mean put on, because, you know, my real accent does change. My real accent is what my accent is, but all when you start to go around the world and live in different countries and pick up on other accents, and so what you learn is sometimes your accent does mold to a situation for offer you the best advantage. And that's just what starts to happen. I love to speak dialect, really, but I feel that if I was in Antigua and I spoke like this, people would be like, still sounds rusty. Are you sure that you're from Antigua? And then usually, this is my joke, usually they believe me when I show them like a wink up. Case in point. Hold on. Show y'all. So usually, mothers have to just give one little wink up, you know, just show them, yeah, I'm Antigua, watch that waistline. Half of a white boy can't dance like that unless you just raise, you know. And so my point is this weird polarity going on, and it needs two ways to grow, and it's like everything else. It's the shadow aspect of things growing out and being shed light on. And so there's on one side, I feel like we need to dissolve too much importance on identity, and at the same time, we need to give as many unrepresented identities voice, because there is something, and I'm realizing there is something about seeing people on TV who don't have a voice and realizing they live just the same way I do. Especially me, who has a hard time presenting himself to people because I don't know what I say where I'm from or what I am, and it seems to at least make white English people uncomfortable at times, like I'm trying to impress somebody, but it's like I just don't want to lie about who I am and where I'm from. I guess I'm blessed, thank you, Mom and Dad. But you know, I see it in the schools when I was teaching. These kids are pumped so full of identity politics. On one hand, they're curious, but on the other hand, it becomes a bit of a crutch in terms of basing their self-worth on it. And I would be in there, you know, and I'd thankfully have this weird bag of cultural mix where I can claim, you know, I'm part Arab, I am part British, yes, I'm white European, but I grew up in the Caribbean and I speak it and I speak French, and you know, so all these things represent me. I don't represent them, they represent me in a sense, and I don't want to have to represent them. I just want to be who I am. And there's this weird thing where I feel like I get along best with people who come from liminal spaces themselves, because the only thing that you realize when you're very mixed up is that you have relative distance from anything defining you too strongly. And there's a lot of space and there's a lot of peace in that. But at the same time, you still have your own biases and you feel them because you pick up on cultural norms from other places. my cultural biases nowadays are against people who don't have multicultural backgrounds. And they start shit with me because they think I'm trying to show off by saying where I'm from and stuff. Take a chill pill. I just want connection like anybody else. So, I don't know where else I'm going with this, except maybe I just want to drop in a few jokes. So to sum it up, the jokes are, when I looked into how we're French, it turns out we're just a bunch of Arabs who became French one day and tried to forget they were Arab. Because back then, if you could, you opted white. And, you know, I can't be angry with my mom. She named me Pierre, made sure I had a French passport, made sure I was speaking French, don't know a word of Arabic. Used to get ripped off by my hash dealers when I would tell them I'm Egyptian and then couldn't speak a word of Arabic, you know, couldn't represent myself culturally, love the food, but still can't speak the language. So I understand she was, you know, trying to give me the best options in life. Try allowed me to identify with something that would open more doors. Little did she know that in the future, she was reserving me that role, that voice, where I really have to fight to be heard. Doesn't help that I sound American. Other joke is, and guys, I don't really have to fight to be heard. Only amongst other white people, usually, who feel like they're getting left behind. I think there is this sense that white people are being left behind. And people tease them, and I know that because I'm from Antigua, and I see it, you know? I'm allowed to see it. I'm in the club. I'm like this guy, this double agent. It's weird. I'm not trying to be a double agent, but it's like, you know, what I'm trying to say is to someone who's just a mixed bag of things and grew up a minority and even sounds wrong saying that, there's a lot of space to be had between these things where we could find peace. So guys, I guess what I'm trying to say is, you know, as humans, we need grounding, we need community, we need to feel a part of something. And so it's very important to uphold your culture, know who you are, know what kind of person that makes you, and be proud of it. But just not at the expense of finding who you are at the same time outside of it. Because like anything, an advantage in life can be a crutch. And for me, my good looks a lot of times have been a crutch because I used to prioritize working out and stuff like this above getting stability and getting ahead in the things that I truly needed to feel grounded, supported, and to find myself. And I think sometimes identity is becoming a bit of that. And so my thing is really know who you are strongly, but also take that advantage, no matter where it is, have responsibility around the doors it opens you, and really find the best you can offer as a result of it. And never hold it up as a means to feel better than anyone else. Take it from the mixed race douchebag over here, who's white and still wants to call himself mixed race, who sounds American and still wants to call himself Antiguan, whose name is Pierre and still wants to call himself Arabic. But guys, legit, you know, I come from a strange set of circumstances. In Antigua, growing up in high school, most of the time somebody wanted to get my attention and they didn't know my name, they just call out, "Hey, white boy!" And, you know, I like turn around, like, might be me. Oh, yeah, it's me. Like, I'm kind of like one of five and it was in my general direction. Okay. Yeah, that was effective. It got my attention. I'm white. Okay, fair enough. And so I had to grow up with just that kind of just this weird space of a spade being called a spade. And I feel like it was more conducive to harmony a lot of the time. Because we could laugh at each other's differences. We could laugh at the way culture played up our differences. We could laugh at the roles that society reserved us inside, given the feuds that already exist within it, that are as a result of what generations of people before me decided to describe or define as what they were a part of. Or also what they just found themselves in the middle of and had to adopt to survive and work within the means of what would allow them to be accepted or outcast. Or had to band together and identify with in order to survive against unfortunate circumstances. Also as a result of the conclusion of someone being other because of some reason of collective, whether identity, empire, race, whatever might have you. And that stuff's never going to disappear, and it's always going to be our history, and it's always going to be important to expose it and let it be seen for what it truly is. I'm going to be bold here and say maybe not mostly because someone needs to understand why they were in the wrong. But so that people from now can see how dumb the excuses for violence, for prejudice, for bias, for hatred on the basis of other are. How unfortunate, but also how human they are. So we can understand it could happen in just about any space. And kind of appreciate. I always go back to evolution, because if we look at ourselves as a species, that's an identity that holds no one accountable, and in which we just have a responsibility towards the amount of power we have as a species who's evolved from a strain of evolution where everything else was not as conscious of itself as us. Not everything else could condition its ways of thinking and influence its environment as much as us. Could create institutions on top of what was natural, the way we can. And get lost in stories and play and reasons, which I still think are elaborate ruses for very basic instincts to evolve into something greater. I guess my point is I wanted to end this on a note of identity, this beautiful game that stretches to be discarded and stretches to be taken up in a more conscious way and actually give everyone a voice, especially those who aren't heard, especially those whose histories haven't been seen. So we could be up to date with what's led to the right here and the right now. And that's kind of evolution through cinema. If you consider evolution the transformation of energy from Big Bang all the way to the present moment in all of its complex forms and variations and different narratives that it creates. We have this beautiful possibility to carve out into consciousness our own niche and space and not fight the nature of who we are, but find harmony within the nature of who we are, which is consciousness in a body, which is something of the nature of the universe, more than any kind of man-made identity. As my incredibly intuitive friend Shakira Hughes puts, and she's mixed, European and Jamaican. Shakira Hughes, she said this to me today. To her, ultimately, identity is the battle between soul and ego. And I just felt like, as usual, like, God damn, I don't even have to do this whole episode. You summed it up in one sentence. But I like to do this, so I did it still. She summed it up in one sentence, and that's, I'm here to say, love all the tension that comes out of that battle, or else you're still an ego. Love the game that came out of it. Love the play. See it as soul. See it as something that came here to be that. See it as something that came here to experience that, to be part of that, to be part of the creation of that, to be that limb of the universe that gave that. Because that for me, and this is just my advice, and I guess I was meant to come up and feel this way about it, come up with this way of looking at it and feel this way about it. To me, that's where all the exhale happens. Where all the release, the relief, and the most laughter can happen. It's the idea that you were here to come and portray that. And in witnessing that, you evolve above it. And you return to your own human drama and game, but with the knowledge of play. And you engage wholeheartedly and whole-spiritedly without severity. Don't leave yourself unsafe, but I think we should all work towards that. So I'm going to leave it here. This is Healer Hawley. Identity is play. Again, if I've hit some sore spots here, if I've not thought of things, if I've left points of view out, if I'm inconsiderate in some way, comment, start a discussion. Still early in my YouTube, I'm going to read all my comments at this point. Let's have it, let's do it, let's have this conversation. That's what life's about. And if you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, tell a friend. Spread the message. Healer Hawley, sending love, over and out.